Ready? Yeah. Hello guys, and today we're going to make a video about National Texas Day. Where did it came from, where was the established day from, and who made this national day? Well, it's a recommended holiday. Let's learn about facts. So starting with, it's going to be 20 minutes, maybe even longer. I actually added duplicate videos a lot. Like, personally a lot. So, let's get into it, shall we? National Texas Day is celebrated annually on February 1st. It was established by the National Day Calendar in 2017. It happens there every single 7 days, all around 365, which truly means that there's only 50 states apart where they skip the national days when it's like two holidays, but let's just talk about it. National Texas Day. In a land of big flavors and even bigger horizons, there's a place where Southern charm meets modern adventure. The state of Texas is a well-known part of the United States that encompasses a large portion of the Southwest, famous for all sorts of historical and cultural tidbits. Texas proudly boasts of its legendary cowboy culture, rattling rodeos, delicious Tex-Mex food, barbecue, chili, and so much more. Not only that, but it's the place where Dr. Pepper was invented, all the way back in 1885, 1 year prior to the invention of Coca-Cola. National Texas Day offers a delightful opportunity to set aside a bit of time to learn more about, show appreciation for, engage with, and celebrate everything that has to do with the great state of Texas. Now, let's get into the history. This history of Texas goes far back to the Native American settlers who were likely on this land for thousands of years prior to the arrival of European settlers. After the French and then Spanish settlers come in the 17th and 18th century, the state of Texas was often caught in the fray, originally aligning with Mexico when it broke off from Spain in 1821. That line still lasts long until Texas declared itself independent in 1836. Then in 1845, Texas made its entrance as the 29th of the United States of America. But just a few years later, in 1861, Texas seceded again in support of the Confederacy in the Civil War. The Civil War ended in 1865, and Texas was eventually allowed to re-enter the U.S. in 1870. In the history of Texas, there have been 6 different entities that have ruled over the land, including France, Spain, Mexico, Republic of Texas, the Confederacy, and the United States. This is sometimes referred to as the Six Flags of Texas. National Texas Day was started in 2017 as part of a larger effort to pay tribute to each of the states throughout the year. Starting with the week of Independence Day, each state is assigned its day based on the time in which it entered the Union. As the 29th state, this places the celebration of Texas in the month of February. And as the second largest of the states behind Alaska, Texas certainly has a lot that is worth celebrating. Now, let's learn and share weird facts about Texas. Get everyone involving with celebrating National Texas Day by taking a look at some interesting facts and then sharing with them with friends, family members, or co-workers, whether in person or social media. Check out some of these weird and wacky facts about Texas to get started. First off, we have Texas has more species of bats than any other U.S. state. With 33 bat species in the state, just 11 will live near humans and can transmit rabies. Another fact is one range in Texas is actually larger than the state of Rhode Island. That's right, the King Range is located in South Texas and is situated on more than 1,280 square miles, and Rhode Island is only 1,212 square miles. Texas has some strange and outdated laws on its book. For instance, it is illegal to sell your eyeball or to shoot a buffalo from the second story of the hotel, to let a camel run loose on the beaches of Galveston, and to milk someone else's cows. And finally, the last fact, it says Texas German is its own dialect of the language that is only spoken in the state. An influx of German immigrants came to the state in the 19th century and carried on their own version of the language in areas like New Braunfels, Schulenburg, Fredericksburg, and Weimar. Now, let's get it over with all of this in Wikipedia. The economy of Texas prior to World War I or II has been shaped by bison, cattle, cotton, oil, and timber industries. The cattle industry was a major economic driver and created the traditional image of the Texas cowboy. In the later 19th century, cotton and lumber grew to be major industries as the cattle industry became less lucrative. Ultimately, the discovery of major petroleum deposits, Spindletop in particular, in the nation, an economic boom that became the driving force behind the economy for much of the 20th century. Texas developed a diverse economy and high-tech industry during the mid-20th century. As of 2024, it has the second highest number base of industry. Of Fortune 500 companies headquartered in the United States. With a growing base of industry, the state leads in many industries, including tourism, agricultural, petrochemicals, energies, computers, and electronics, aerospace, and biomedical science. Texas had led the U.S. in state export revenue since 2002. It has the second highest gross state product. Texas considerably ranks highly among national average for business growth, job creation, and economic opportunity, with low taxes and a regulatory environment that encourages innovation. The Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and Greater Houston areas are the nation's fourth and fifth most populous urban regions, respectively. Its capital city is Austin. Due to its size and geographic features such as the Balcones Fall, Texas contains diverse landscapes common to both the U.S. southern and the southwestern regions. Most population centers are in areas of formal predators, grasslands, forests, and the coastline. Traveling from east to west, terrain ranges from coastal swamps and piney woods to rolling plains and rugged hills to the desert and mountains of the Big Bend. Now, let's learn about etymology. The name Texas, based on the cattle word Taisha or fen, was applied in the spelling Texas or Texas by the Spanish to the cattle themselves, specifically the hand-side currency. During Spanish colonial rule in the 18th century, the area was known as Nuevas Philippines, New Philippines, and Nuevo Reino de Philippines, New Kingdom of the Philippines, or as Provincia de los Dejas, Province of the Dejas, later as Province de Texas, or de Dejas, Province of Texas. It was incorporated as Province de Texas into the Mexican Empire in 1821 and declared a republic in 1836. The Royal Spanish Academy recognizes both spellings Texas and Texas as Spanish language forms of the name. The English pronunciation with its unetymological, contrary to the historical value of the letter X in Spanish orthography. Alternative etymologists of the name advance in the late 19th century connected the name Texas with the Spanish words teja, meaning roof tile. The plural tejas being used to designate indigenous Pueblo settlements. A 1716 map by Jacques Nicholas Bellin shows a village named Tejas on the Trinity River, close to the site of modern Crockett. Let's talk about history. Texas lies between two major culture spheres of pre-Columbian North America, the southwestern and the plain areas. Archaeologists have found that three major indigenous cultures live in this territory and reached their development peak. Upper Rio Grande region, center the west of Texas. The Mississippi culture, also known as mound builders, which extended along the Mississippi River Valley, east of Texas, and the civilizations of Mesoamerica, which was centered south of Texas. Influence of Teotihuacan in North Mexico peaked around 8500 and declined between the 8th and 10th centuries. When Europeans first arrived in the Texas region, the language presented in the state were Catalan, Atapan, Atacapan, Athabascan, Cuahuilan, or Cuahulitican, and Udo-Aztecan. In addition to people who lived near the Rio Grande in the western portion of the state, and the Athabascan-speaking Apache tribes lived throughout the interior. The agricultural mountain-building cattle control much of the northeastern part of the state along the Red, Sabine, and Neches River basins, as a comparable, such as the Akokisa and Bidai, left along the northeastern coast. The Karanakawa live along the central coast. At least one type of Coahuilcans, the Anama, live in southern Texas. This entire culture group, primarily centered in northeastern Mexico, is now extinct. No one culture was dominant across the territory of present-day Texas, with many people inhabiting the area. Native American tribes who have lived inside the boundaries of present-day Texas into the Alabama, Apache, Atapan, Bidai, Caddo, Kawa, Tonkawa, and Wichita. Many of these people migrated from the north or east during the colonial period. Many of these migrated from the north or east during the colonial period, such as the Choctaw, Alabama, Coastal, and Delaware. The region was primarily controlled by the Spanish until the Texas Revolution. They were most interested in relationships with the Caddo, who were like the Spanish, settled agricultural people. Several Spanish missions was opened in Caddo territory, but a lack of interest in Christianity among the Caddo meant that few were converted. Positioned between French Louisiana and Spanish Texas, the Caddo maintained relations with both, but were closer to the French. After Spain took control of Louisiana, most of the missions in eastern Texas were closed and abandoned. The United States obtained Louisiana following the 1803 Louisiana Purchase and began convincing tribes to self-segregate from whites by moving west, facing an overflow of allow several displaced people to settle on used lands in eastern Texas. These include the Mosuki, Humachachao, Lanap, and Mingo Seneca, among others who came to view the Caddones as saviors. The different temperatures or temperaments of Native American tribes directly affect the fates of the European exports and settlers coming to an end or to the area. Friendly tribes taught newcomers how to grow local crops, prepare foods, and hunt wild games, while wildlife tribes resisted the settlers, but treaties with the Spanish forbade either side from militarizing its native population in any potential conflict between the two nations. Several outbreaks of violence between Native America and Texas started to spread in the prelude to the Texas Revolution. Texas accused Texas Texas accused tribes of stealing livestock. While no proof was found, those in charge of Texas at the time attempted to publicly blame and punish the cattle with speculation that the U.S. government was trying to keep them in check this way. The cattle never turned to violence because of the situation, except in cases of self-defense. By the 1830s, the U.S. had drafted the Indian Removal Act, which was used to facilitate the Trail of Tears. Fearing retribution, Indian agents all over the eastern U.S. tried to convince all indigenous people to uproot and move west. This included the Caddo of Louisiana and Arkansas. The first president of Texas, Sam Houston, aimed to collaborate and make peace with native tribes, but successful Mirabeau B. Labor took a much more hostile stance. Hostility towards native, while by white Texas permitted the movement of most native populations north into what would become Indian Territory, modern Oklahoma. Only the Alabama Coasada would remain in the parts of Texas subject to white settlement, though the Comanche would continue to control most of the western half of the state until the defeat in the 1870s and 1880s. Now, let's learn about colonizations. The main articles are New Spain, New France, Louisiana, French colonization of Texas, Spanish, Texas, French, and Indian War, and so much more. By the way, let's get into the video. The first historical document related to Texas was a map of the Gulf Coast created in 1519 by Spanish explorer Alonso Alvarez de Pineda. 9 years later, shipwrecked Spanish explorer Alvaro Nunez Cabeza de Vaca and his cohort became the first Europeans in what is now Texas. Cabeza de Vaca reported that in 1528, when the Spanish landed in the area, called half the nation died from a disease of the bowels and blameless. Cabeza de Vaca also made observations about the way of life of the Inca natives of Texas. Francisco Vázquez de Cordoba described another encounter with native people in 1541. The expedition of Hernando de Soto entered into Texas from the east, seeking a route to Mexico. They passed through the Caddo lands, but turned back after researching the river of Daco, possibly the bases or Colorado, beyond which point the native peoples were nomadic and did not have the agricultural stores to feed the expedition. European powers ignored the area until accidentally settling there in 1685. Miscalculations by René Robert Cavalier de la Salle resulted in his establishing the colony of Fort St. Louis at Montego Bay rather than along the Mississippi River. The colony lasted only 4 years before succumbing to harsh conditions and hostile natives. A small band of survivors traveled eastern into the lands of the Caddo, but La Salle was killed by disgruntled expedition members. In 1690, Spanish authorities, concerned that France posed a competitive threat, constructed several missions in East Texas among the Caddo. After Caddo resistance, the Spanish missionaries returned to Mexico. When France began settling Louisiana, in 1760, Spanish authorities responded by founding a new series of missions in East Texas. 2 years later, they created San Antonio as the first Spanish civilized settlement in the area. Hostile native tribes and distance from nearby Spanish colonies discouraged settlers from moving to the area. It was one of New Spain's least populated provinces. In 1749, the Spanish peace treaty with the Lipan Abend Anglo-Romanian tribes, including the Comanche, Tancoa, and Haisane. The Comanche signed a treaty with Spain in 1785 and later helped to defeat the Lipan Abend and Karankawa tribes, with numerous missions being established. Preset led a peaceful convention of many tribes. By the end of the 18th century, only a few nomadic tribes have not converted. When the United States purchased Louisiana from France in 1803, American authorities intended the agreement also included Texas. The boundary between New Spain and the United States was finally set in 1819 at the Sabine River, the modern border between Texas and Louisiana. Eager for new land, many U.S. settlers refused to recognize the agreement. Several filibusters raised armies to defend the area west of the Sabine River. Marked by the War of 1812, some men who had escaped from the Spanish held old Philippines had immigrated to and also passed through Texas, New Philippines, and reached Louisiana, where Philippine exiles aided the United States in the defense of New Orleans against the British invasion, with Filipinos in the St. Malo settlement against Jean Lafayette in the Battle of New Orleans. In 1821, the Mexican War of Independence included the Texas Territory, which became part of Mexico. Due to its low population, the territory was assigned to other states and territories of Mexico. The core territory was part of the state of Texas, but other parts of today's Texas were part of Tamaulipas, Chihuahua, or the Mexican territory of Santa Fe de Nueva Mexico. Hoping more settlers would reduce the new constant Comanche rates, Mexican Texas liberalized its immigration policies to permit immigrants from outside Mexico and Spain. As a result of this, large swathes of land were allotted to impresos, Cerrizos, who recruited settlers from the United States, Europe, and Mexican interior, primarily the U.S. Austin settlers. The old 300 made places along the Brazos River in 1822. The population of Texas grew rapidly. By 1834, the population has grown to about 37,800 people, with only 7,800 of Mexican descent. Many immigrants only flouted Mexican law, especially the prohibition against slavery, combined with U.S. attempts to purchase Texas. Mexican officers decided in 1830 to prohibit continue slavery. Combined with United States attempts to purchase Texas, Mexican authorities decided in 1830 to prohibit continue immigration from the U.S. However, illegal immigration from the U.S. into Mexico tended to increase the population of Texas. New laws also called for the enforcement of customs duties and angering Native Mexican citizens, T-Jones, and recent immigrants alike. The Antioch disturbances in 1837 or 1832 were the first open revolt against Mexican rule, coinciding with a revolt in Mexico against the nation's president. Texans sided with the Federalists against the government and drove all Mexican soldiers out of East Texas. They took advantage of the lack of oversight, agitated for more political freedom. Texans met at the Convention of 1842 to discuss requesting independence, among other issues. The following year, Texans reiterated their demands at the Convention of 1833. Now let's all talk about the Republic. The main articles called Texas Revolution, Convention of 1836, Texas Declaration of Independence, Treaties of Vesiclo, and Republic of Texas. Within Mexico, tensions continue between Federalists and Centralists. In early 1835, weary Texans formed communities of correspondence and safety. The unrest erupted into armed conflict in late 1835 at the Battle of Gonzales. This launched the Texas Revolution. Texans elected declared to delegates to the Constitution, which created a provisional government. The provisional government soon collapsed from infighting, and Texas was without clear governance for the first 2 months of 1836. Mexican President Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna personally led an army to end the revolt. General Jose de Ura defeated all the Texans' resistance along the coast, culminating in the Golet Massacre. Lopez de Santa Anna's forces, after a 13-day siege, overwhelmed Texans defenders at the Battle of the Alamo. News of the defeat sparkled panic among Texas soldiers. I will see you tomorrow the next day. Hopefully we make a 30-minute video or more. Bye. Love you. See you tomorrow. Bye. And happy National Texas Day. We live in the state of Texas, in Spring, Texas. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.